Good night.
Good night, love you.
Breaking news at 4. This is new within the past 15 minutes. Daniel and Chloe Spencer are now facing second-degree murder charges and the death of their 5-year-old daughter, Missy Mogle.
Welcome or welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is about a little girl who died while she was in a home that she never should have been in. But multiple agencies and individuals did not take the situation seriously enough until it was too late. This is the story of Melissa Mogle. Melissa, or Missy Ellen Rose Mogle, was born on December 31st, 2019, in Tallahassee, Florida, to her father, Chase Thornton, and her mother, Chloe Spencer. She also had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. 5-year-old Missy was said to be a bright, happy, sweet, and very nurturing little girl. She loved Minnie Mouse, Lilo and Stitch, watching butterflies in the garden, dancing, swimming, playing outside with her cousins, and playing with her baby dolls. At the time Missy was born, her mother Chloe was only 17 years old and living with her parents in Wakulla County, Florida. The mother was said to be very inattentive, and she would not tend to her new baby daughter when she cried. So it wasn't long after Missy was born that Chloe's own parents, Pepper and Andy Mogle, began raising the little girl. That's up until the time Missy was 4, when the court decided to give her mother another chance, and she was returned to her custody. By this point, Chloe was also married to a man who was 12 years older than her, named Daniel Spencer. So Missy, along with her siblings' mother and mother's new husband, Daniel, had been living in a home on Kipling Court in Southwood. And on the morning of May 19th, 2025, emergency services were called there. Upon paramedics arriving at the scene, they found the 5-year-old little girl unresponsive, and a man named Robert Frabel, who was said to be her grandfather, though not biological, was performing CPR on her. Robert also owned and lived in the home where Missy and her family resided. The little girl was then transported to nearby Tallahassee Medical Center, but she was pronounced dead shortly after her arrival. Missy was found to have excessive bruising all over her body, cuts to her face, ligature marks to her wrists, and burn marks to her fingers. There was bruising on her feet that was so bad they had turned black. It appeared that she had been tied up and suffocated. Missy was also malnourished, and she had possible signs of SA. Doctors would say that she had been so badly beaten, she was nearly unrecognizable. If it wasn't already readily apparent, a later autopsy would confirm that Missy's death had been a homicide. However, at this time, her cause of death was not able to be determined. The girl's 23-year-old mother, Chloe Spencer, and 35-year-old stepfather, Daniel Spencer, were then placed under arrest. And while they were initially charged with aggravated battery of a child, this was later upgraded to second-degree murder. They were denied bail and also ordered to have no contact with their 3 young children who had been removed from the home. Now, according to Chloe, her daughter had been sick the weekend before she died, but she planned on taking her to the doctors. Then the mother told investigators that Daniel, who had recently been addicted to narcotics, had been hitting Missy with a belt on her backside and her legs, twice daily. When authorities spoke with him and asked him to explain Missy's various injuries, he stated that sometimes he and Chloe would wrap Missy up in a blanket, swaddling her, trying to get her to go to sleep. But she would struggle to get out, and this is what caused the bruises on her arms and wrists. Daniel also claimed that the injuries to her face were because she had allergies and she would scratch at it. As he was further interrogated, Daniel would start blaming his wife for the little girl's mistreatment, saying that she had been hitting Missy and throwing her around for extended periods of time. Yet he'd never made any attempts to contact Child Protective Services or law enforcement. Then Daniel told police that prior to the 5-year-old's death, she hadn't slept in about 6 or 7 days. While neither he nor Chloe had taken her to the doctor, they had given her some Benadryl to try to help her sleep. They also made her do exercises to try to wear her out. The morning that emergency services was called, Missy had finally fallen asleep sometime after 2 a.m., he said. But then she'd woken back up, close to 4 a.m. Daniel informed authorities that Missy had behavioral problems and she would often hold her breath during tantrums. When she woke up around 4, he had begun arguing with her, trying to get her back to bed. But it ended with him leaving her bedroom and closing the door behind him. After a few minutes, Daniel went back in, and that's when he said that he found Missy unconscious. But what a stupid story. Like, she could really kill herself from holding her breath. She wouldn't just, pass out first. During a search of the home, investigators seized a memory card from a security camera located in Missy's bedroom. And they also took her stepfather Daniel's tablet. And even though he had attempted to delete multiple clips prior to handing the devices over to police, they would still find many videos of him physically assaulting the 5-year-old. This included him hitting her, binding her limbs, and throwing bedding over her head and entire body. Missy's blood was also found to be on multiple pillows and a comforter in the home. Detectives additionally found photos of her curled up on the bed as her mother, Chloe, stood over her with an object in her hand, ready to swing, which she would later admit was a shoe. Following Missy's death, many, including the little girl's other family members, began blaming what happened to her on the failures of the courts, law enforcement, and Florida's Child Welfare Agency. This was because back in July of 2024, there had been a call made to the Child Service Hotline saying that Daniel had been molesting her. However, the department found that there was insufficient probable cause, and they had closed out the case without charging him. They would later say that this was because there was no physical evidence that anything had happened, and it would essentially just be Missy's word against Daniel's. There had also been a complaint made that same year by the girl's mother, Chloe, saying that Daniel had assaulted her, but this complaint ended with no probable cause for his arrest again. Making authorities' decision to not charge Daniel either time seem even more insane was the fact that these incidents had occurred just months after he had been ensnared in a child sting operation. It was called Operation Spring Cleaning, and it was conducted by the Leon County Sheriff's Department. Apparently, Daniel had been caught chatting online for hours with an undercover officer who was posing as a 15-year-old girl. When the officer had told Daniel that she was just 15, he replied by saying that age is just a number. Also in these messages, he told the young girl that he wanted to make love to her and insisted that she delete the conversation so that he wouldn't get in trouble. Ultimately, Daniel got arrested, as I said, and at the time he was found to have both condoms and lube in his truck, which he claimed were for him and his wife because they hadn't spent Valentine's Day together. He additionally tried to tell officers that the text messages to the 15-year-old were just auto texts, or that his 3-year-old son may have gotten a hold of his phone and sent the messages accidentally. But when officers told Daniel that neither one of these scenarios were possible, he instead blamed it on a keylogger, which is a type of surveillance technology that is used to monitor keystrokes on a computer or a phone. It essentially captures and logs everything that a user does. Following this incident, Daniel would have a 1-day trial, and on April 15, 2025, he was found guilty of traveling to meet a minor. While he wasn't sentenced at this time, he was facing up to 20 years in prison. As such, prosecutors asked that he be held up until the time that he was sentenced. They were especially worried since Daniel had multiple minor children in his home, and they didn't want him having contact with them. But the Judge Tiffany Baker Carper, allowed him to be released. After Daniel had been arrested for traveling to meet a minor, Chloe had given temporary custody of Missy to her friend, Paige Carnahan. Paige had known Chloe since high school and said that she was always kind and sweet. That's up until she met Daniel. Now, once Missy was in Paige's care, she would tell her that Daniel would put his hand around her throat and touch her inappropriately when he was mad. Subsequently, Paige filed a police report. As I had said earlier, though, nothing was done, and according to Paige, she had begged them to do something. But caseworkers just told her that Missy had probably been coached to make up these accusations against Daniel. The little girl had then been returned to her mother and stepfather's care in October of 2024. And according to family members, after Missy came forward with this information to her mother that Daniel had been touching her, Chloe threatened the little girl. In March of 2024, Chloe posted to her social media defending her husband too. She told everyone to leave him alone because he was not a sexual predator. According to her and Daniel were just role-playing that she was a 15-year-old girl, which makes no sense because there's proof that he was talking to a police officer. It's also been said by Chloe's family that just a couple weeks prior to Daniel getting busted during the sting operation, she'd caught him trying to sneak out of the house in the middle of the night to go meet up with a 12-year-old girl. Chloe had apparently looked at his phone while he was in the shower getting ready to leave, and she found messages between her husband and the young girl, talking of their plans to get together that night. She also found proof that this wasn't the first time Daniel had met up with her. Needless to say, there were many people who had been warning the mother to keep her children away from Daniel in the months leading up to Missy's death, but she had just ignored them all and defended her husband at the same time. Looking at Chloe's other social media posts, she always acted like she was such a loving and caring mother too. She constantly talks about Missy being her whole world and a mommy's girl. However, there is a post from January 15th, 2025 that really sticks out to me. Chloe wrote, "If you want to be a gentle parent, cool. If you want to be a strict parent, that's fine too. I go by what I see my children need in that moment. Might get a hug, might get your ass handed to you, might get both. Really depends, but both come with a talk because I never want my babies trying to guess where I'm coming from." Disturbingly, after Daniel's arrest in relation to Missy's death, his grandmother wrote a letter to the judge who would be handling the case, asking for leniency for him. The note says that he is an honest, trustworthy man who has no prior convictions. He also has a family and deserves a chance to do better. Daniel's grandmother goes on to state that she believes he might have been tricked at the time of his supposed infraction. She doesn't believe that he had any ill intent, but rather was tricked into doing a bad thing that he thought was a good thing. All utter nonsense. He's a full-grown man. And the judge that she wrote to, who I said is the one who's handling Missy's murder case, is also the exact same judge that let Daniel out of prison awaiting his sentencing on his sex crimes. I would say that's a big conflict of interest. According to the 5-year-old's grandmother, Pepper, the prosecution is currently trying to get Daniel's charges upgraded to first-degree murder and subsequently seek the death penalty. After Missy's death, a GoFundMe was launched to help cover her funeral expenses, as well as assist the little girl's siblings who are now said to be living with a great aunt. A vigil honoring Missy Mogle's life was held on May 29, 2025, where more than 100 people gathered outside the Southwood Community Center to pay tribute to her.
I didn't know her, but I feel like I am her. We all have little girls in this neighborhood, and we should be protecting our kids, and I just wish I knew her. I wish I could have done something.
Ashley Chambers has cried many tears over the death of 5-year-old Missy Mogle. She and other moms in Southwood so stunned and sickened by it that they're organizing a vigil for Missy here at Southwood's Butterfly Garden.
I thought it was important for the neighborhood to get together and just have a communal place of healing.
Bubbles, shades of pink and purple, and Minnie Mouse. It's all things that made 5-year-old Melissa Mogle Missy. Neighbors in the Southwood community are honoring those parts for her life at a vigil Thursday.
And to honor this sweet little girl.
Every time you seen her, she had a smile on her face.
We felt like we wanted to do something to show this family our love and our support and spread Missy's story and make sure her name stays out there to ensure that we can get justice for her. We wanted to blow bubbles for her, draw pictures of on the sidewalk of just messages of hope and messages of love.
Missy's family also attended. Her godmother, Jasmine Hartsfield, says she appreciates community efforts to honor Missy, but she hopes justice comes next.
When you think of a spunky little girl, I want you to think of Melissa.
A celebration of life for the little girl is additionally planned for June 21st, 2025, at Bay Harbor Church of God in Brunswick, Georgia, and it will also be live streamed. Well, thank you for listening to Missy's story today. There are so many things about this case that are absolutely outrageous. First, Daniel was allowed to walk free after he was found guilty of trying to meet with a minor. Then, no one listened to Missy when she said that he was touching her. And then there's the fact that her mother, Chloe, defended this monster and hurt her daughter just like he was. So many failures led to this little girl's death, and it's just unreal. What do you think about this case? If you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care, guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon, so check it out on patreon.com/awickedworld, or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims are never forgotten, and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a story you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email to awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.